Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Eczema Podcast. Today, I am glad to bring you a special episode where we'll be doing our first performer spotlight series. I have a special guest. Her name is Aiesha Naomi, and she's a full-time performer. She works in musicals and theaters, and she's a singer as well. And I just love her story because she's been in musicals like Hairspray, Sister Act, and Priscilla, and she's also been on tour. And today I have her on the show so she can share about how having eczema and TSW has affected her life and her career as well. And then we'll end by her sharing a cover song for you. And I just love it because I absolutely love her voice. And I hope that you'll really love hearing about her story and also the song that she shares at the end. So welcome to the show, Aiesha.
Hi.
So great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I would love to hear more about your story. How long have you had eczema for? When did you start going through topical steroid withdrawal?
So I've actually had eczema since I was about a month old, maybe even less. And it was quite severe when I was younger. I'm left with quite a few like pigment scars from scratching and stuff. But I got given topical steroids as a baby. And obviously my mum used to put it on for me and probably put it on how it should be. And then as I got to an age where I could start putting my cream on, I just wasn't very aware of how much you were meant to use. It doesn't really get taught how much you should be using for it to be safe. So I just, obviously, when your skin's that itchy and you're that sore and you know that that helps, you smother yourself in it. So I used to use it a lot. And gradually my skin got used to certain steroid creams that I was using, and they started to not work anymore. It had built up a resilience to them, and so I kept using different steroids. And then it got to a point about a year ago where they just weren't helping anymore. My skin, I just thought there's absolutely no point me using these. I'm thinning my skin for no real reason, and I've not used them in the right way. But I think actually if you don't start using them, then you're grand. You'll find a better way of coping with it. But yeah, so I started to do, I went into topical steroid withdrawal about a year ago. Yeah, and that was a process and a half.
I'm sure it must have been so shocking to go through the topical steroid withdrawal journey and just experience everything, like all of the
Yeah, I
redness.
was on a show at the time as well, and I didn't really I'd read up on it, but I wasn't sure quite how bad it could be. And I read up on no moisture treatment, and I read up on just stopping topical steroids, and I knew that there would be a backlash and my skin would massively flare up. My skin got so bad at one point that all of my skin was infected. I had red skin syndrome, I was shaking, I had sweats, my skin was just splitting, and I then went on oral steroids for a month. Now, they did really, really help me. I mean, I wouldn't go on them again because now I feel like I've got it more under control, but then I was such a state, and I was on the show and everyone was like, I don't know how you are doing this show. And it got to a point where I couldn't walk. So I had to, one time, which I've never done in my life, I don't agree with it, but it got to the middle of the show and I was like, I can't do it. I can't have the costumes rubbing on my body and I can't walk. So I just had to pull out of the show for about a week, which was horrific. I started with no moisture treatment though, which I should have read more into, because you do need to be in a space. It works for some people, it doesn't work for others. For me, if I'm out working and I'm traveling and I'm staying in different houses, I can't have that risk of infection. And also, you're not meant to drink, sorry, they're my dogs. You're not meant to drink masses of amounts of water, and I'm a singer. So that wasn't going to work for me. So that's how I started off. And it was awful. It was absolutely, I didn't know where to put myself. The only thing that would help was like a fan, sat in front of a fan, and I'd just sob because I was in so much pain. And then I started to moisturize again, and it was slightly better. But yeah, I looked like, it was crazy because I had the red skin syndrome. It's really bizarre. It starts from your wrist and just all over your body, as you well know, all over your body, in places that I'd never even had eczema before. So yeah, it was crazy.
For those who are watching on the YouTube version, the video version that I upload to YouTube, your skin looks really, really great right now. I mean,
Thanks.
I can only see a tiny bit on your wrist, but that's about it. It's not even that obvious.
Yeah, I mean, I have got the thing on this, which is like quite a nice, where it's like, there's like a version of Zoom where one's normal and then the other's like, do you want to be prettier? So I kind of clicked.
I didn't know that you could do that.
I didn't know that you could do it either, and I was going through the settings and I was like, I'll take that one. But yeah, no, my skin isn't massively, like, it's quite good at the moment, and I haven't been drinking because alcohol, everything affects it. Alcohol affects it, sugar affects it, sun affects it, cold affects it, water, like everything. So it's pretty good at the moment. Very temperamental.
Definitely. Yeah, it affects every part. How did you cope when you had to put on makeup for your musicals, and especially very heavy makeup, I imagine?
See, my face was actually okay. Everyone at work was really understanding. So like my makeup and wiggy, if anything was irritating my skin, they'd say, okay, don't use it today. My costumes, they had to alter my costumes quite a lot. Just anything they could do to help. And my cast were incredible. Like, I was one of the divas in Priscilla, so my two other divas literally babysat me, like, throughout that time. Like, they'd help me get dressed, they'd help me get undressed. Like, bless them. I bought them a massive fan saying diva. I've actually got it down there, just for helping me so much.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good that you had that support. I know not everyone has that type of support, so that's really sweet they helped you.
Yeah. I mean, I had a few negative things. Like, there was a rumor going around in the industry that, oh, this girl, she's got this thing and all her skin's peeling off and she's bleeding, and then other people have to wear costumes. But you're always going to get people like that. That's not actually how it was. And their mistake, they said it to one of my friends, who said, actually, I know her and that's not what happened. But yeah, my cover as well was insane. If I had to go off, she'd go on, like, there and then, no problem. So very lucky in that sense.
That's great that you had someone to cover for you. And yeah, how does that work, and how did that affect your career in any way, if it did, if there were those rumors going around?
I mean, it did upset me, but I kind of just had to brush it off, because I know what the real story is, and actually anyone in their right mind isn't going to go, oh, that's disgusting. We're adults now. More likely to go, oh God, that's awful. I bet that was really painful. You're always going to get that one person likes a bit of talk and a bit of drama, but the majority of people aren't like that. So it was fine. Everyone was great on my show.
I'm glad that you're sharing that, because I'm realizing how many singers and performers, actors and actresses are affected by eczema. And I know that I also have a lot of performers and talented artists as well who listen to the show. And I'm just really glad that you shared that, especially how you didn't let it affect you.
Yeah,
Because
I mean, obviously, when your skin is like this anyway, you feel a little bit self-conscious. I've always felt self-conscious, and I'm like, oh, well, what are people going to think when they see, like, it has been a worry for me growing up from such a tiny age. But I just think it's part of me. It doesn't affect me getting cast for things. It doesn't tend to affect people around me, and if it does, that's a really shallow attitude to have. And since I have opened up about it, because in the industry you're very much seen as like, oh, she's pretty, oh, she's this, she's that, but no one actually sees the real underlying issues or things going on or skin problems. And since I've opened up about it, I've had other performers come to me and go, oh my God, I'm dealing with that too. And I've never opened up about it because I thought I had to be this way or that way. And actually, it doesn't knock how talented you are. If anything, it's the opposite, because you have to fight harder to be on that stage. And even days you're itchy or days you're in pain, you still have to go ahead and do the show. There's no like way around it. So
I absolutely love your attitude, and just how strong your mindset is, because I know that a lot of people are probably going through the same thing or have experienced something similar in their line of work. And I think that it's just so brave that, you know, you're sharing your mindset and that you didn't let it affect you as well.
thank you. There are times where I'm like, okay, maybe I won't get this job. And I worry about castings like TV, because I know full well you do your profiles and then you do your hands. And I'm like, oh, but my hands. And then I was like, hold on, what if they're doing an ad for some hand cream? You know, like you just have to look at things in different lights. No one's going to be perfect for everything. So yeah.
Yeah,
It's very
definitely.
easy to give up on TSW as well when you're in the industry and you're like, oh, but it's so much easier to just put this on, it's going to help. But in the long term, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
It's not going to help at all. It's like a drug. The withdrawal is horrific. So
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. And, you know, I love that despite how you went through TSW in the last year, you've had consistent work. And like you mentioned to me, you were even going on tour full time to different cities, and you were on tour for several months as well.
yeah, I was on tour through my whole TSW, and I had like an odd week off, and I was worried. I was like, oh, but that's going to affect my work. But it's no different to anyone else being poorly and having tonsillitis, or apart from the skin is the biggest organ in your body. Your whole body's poorly, and if that's not enough, a lot of people end up in hospital. I went to A&E pretty much every week, like when I was going through TSW, for new bandages and things I needed. But you do just have to carry on through it. And my producers actually sent me an email saying, like, after everything you're going through, thank you so much for being on the show. And it just goes to show, we think, oh, we're never going to get any work again. Actually, people think, wow, you know what, that is fight if ever I've seen it. So yeah.
That's so great. And for those in North America, is A&E basically kind of like the ER in of
It's
hospitals?
yeah, it's kind of like I it's accident and emergency. Um, but you often get sent there if you call 111, which is like the helpline for skin. And I'd only do that if I had like, if my skin was infected or anything, because obviously my immune system anyway, is awful. And I've had like septicemia before. So I just have to be really careful with it. So it's basically accident and emergency.
I just want to commend you on how strong you are, to that you even mentioned how you were on tour for the whole of your TSW stage. I can't imagine, because so many people have told me that they can't leave their house while they're on TSW, and the fact
Yeah,
that you were on tour constantly, you know, traveling, going to different cities and also performing. I think that's really, really incredible. And I know a lot of people have issues traveling. So, how did you cope
yeah,
with that? Because it must have been so hard.
yeah. Um, I feel quite strong now, but actually, when I think back to it, it was the hardest thing I've ever gone through pain wise in my life. And like, I've had a few like big surgeries, but that was just, it was such a long journey, and every day you'd get up and be in pain and not being able to sleep, and then you'd have a backlash of being tired because you couldn't sleep, and then you'd have to stop and put cream on where everyone else is carrying on, you know, like. And going on stage when I had red skin syndrome, I just felt like it was so prominent. So I then started to feel really insecure, and then like, and it's even things like dating. I didn't want to date because I felt like it was ugly, and like it affects so many parts of your life. And I remember just crying every day, not necessarily because of the pain, just because it was such a change in my life. And I I just felt like nobody understood the pain I was in. Like, as much as you want to understand someone and their pain, you can't unless you're feeling it. And I honestly felt like my whole body was on fire. It was awful, absolutely awful. And I'd take my costumes off and just be bright red from head to toe. Yeah, it really wasn't nice. And even like things like just doing sociable things and going out for a drink, I couldn't drink a lot of the time because my skin was so bad, and then I couldn't walk because my skin, again, my knees used to split on the front and my ankles. Anywhere that fabric touched would be inflamed and bright red. Yeah, it was awful. Really, really
Thank you for sharing that, because I'm just imagining how much you've gone through. I know that when I've gone on several business trips without my family, I feel like it does get lonely sometimes without their presence. And so I'm just thinking about how much you must have gone through to go through all of that TSW without your family around, and having those nights where you're at the hotel and just going through the TSW. And I feel like you're so courageous to go through all of that.
Yeah, it was like, I didn't know how bad it was going to be, and I think actually if I did know, I would have waited till I got home, but I was already in it and I'd already done it for months, so I was like, no, I am sticking to this. And I did work out different ways that were helping my skin. So obviously going vegan helped, cutting out sugar helped. So I was finding little things after the month of steroids that were helping me, and this is where it's left me so far, which isn't how it was before I started TSW, but better than it was in the middle of it, you know. It was, yeah. So, and it flares up. Stress is an awful one for me. The minute I get stressed, I have a flare. Simple, like straight away. Like if I have an argument with someone or anything, it's just like, whew, I'm like, great, now look.
But you have gone through so much. You're looking great. And it's so amazing that you still, despite what you went through, still have like a steady line of jobs. I know that we're going through COVID right now, so it's kind of affecting things. But it's really amazing that you've pushed through all of it. And I think that it'll inspire a lot of viewers who are listening to your story that they can get through it too, and that they can also keep going in their line of work, and that they can make it through it and still be successful.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm not ashamed to say I struggle with mental health. So if I can get through it, then so can anybody else. Anyone else can. It's just finding what helps you, whether it's writing things down, whether it's talking to a friend, whether it's laying in a bath for hours. Like, there are ways of coping with it, and it's not going to be easy. And as long as you prepare yourself for that at the start and tell yourself this isn't going to be easy, but in the long run it's going to be so much better for me, then you're set, you know.
So what is one or two things that helps you the most to cope with the mental aspect of it?
The mental aspect, okay, so meditation for sure, because it's quite difficult to sleep even with eczema, because the minute you lay down you start to itch, and then it transfers over your whole body. I have an audiobook that I set for an hour and a half every night, and I listen to the same thing, and it's very calming. I always sleep with a fan on. I just find it helps. The cooler the better. What else? Mentally, I normally always have my nails done because acrylic nails are less sharp, but I haven't right now, so we haven't been out. What else?
Do you sing and write songs to help you?
I sing. Singing for me is a massive release. Obviously I actually started dancing at 2.5, and I didn't sing until I was about 12. I do Insanity every day, and that helps me, although it is a struggle and it itches, and sometimes I have to stop and sit in front of a fan because the sweat just itches so much. I feel like I've accomplished something after, especially in this time. Feeling like you've accomplished something through what you're going through is just you finish and you're like, see, it doesn't matter who you're saying it to, see, I can do it, you know. So I do that every day. Yeah, just those sort of things really, and swapping things that you wouldn't think in and out. So like little things like you'd have scented candles in your bedroom, take them out and have something natural in your room instead, that's going to produce something different. So I've now got plants in my room because I know that they're good for the air. And I've got is it a calm lily? I don't know, my partner got it for me, but it's really cute. And I just feel like because it's called that, I'm like, okay, I'm calm. But yeah, just yeah.
Awesome. I love all those tips that you share. That's so wonderful. And it's so beautiful to hear that you've really come such a long way, that you've really changed your story around because of everything that you've been through. And so I really just want to give kudos to you and everything that you've gone through, because you've gone through
Thank
so
you.
much.
And obviously talking to other people that have been through the same thing. It's only recently that I've spoken to so many people. I hadn't spoken to anybody that dealt with it before. And I had like a little vegan page, and one girl reached out to me and she was like, oh, I'm really struggling. I used steroid cream for 3 weeks and now I'm covered in this red skin. So I told her things that had helped me. I said, I'm not a professional, I don't know if it's going to help you. And it did. And she came back and she was like, thank you so much, like it's changed everything. And then that opened my mind to talking to other people. And I've got quite a few friends now that are like in the industry and across the other sides of the world that can help me with things that I didn't know, and I can tell them things that I do that help me. So yeah, it's kind of being open and realizing that, you know what, it's part of you. That's it. It's part of you. You can't change it completely. So go with it.
Have you met other people in musical or any other similar line of work who are going through something similar like you have?
Yes, I have. There was a guy on my last show that has severe eczema head to toe, and he really struggled with it as well. He stopped steroids when he was 10, but he's still kind of still going through the journey, and he's like 28, but he's a lot better now. But we just used to slap each other during the show, not during the show, or like off in the wings, like stop scratching, even though you know that never works. But if you know someone's caught you, you do try more. So yeah, but I don't think many other people really. It is hard. It is really hard, and it's hard not to compare pain. Like, so when you're covered head to toe and someone's like, oh, I've got a blister, I have to be like, Aiesha, blisters still really, really hurt.
I
Because
felt the
otherwise you're like,
same.
oh, but my whole body. I know.
I
I'm like,
know.
oh, my whole body's on fire. But actually, it doesn't mean other people aren't in pain, you know.
Definitely. So I would love to for you to also share more about the song that you want to sing and what made this song important to you, that I'm gonna show right after this.
Okay, it's called I'm Here from the Colour Purple. I started singing this at college, and I could never get through the whole song without completely breaking down. And it took quite a few attempts. And then when I finally broke down the lyrics, and obviously The Colour Purple is an absolutely insane musical. People need to watch it. Like the message, like, especially at the moment, people need to be educated, and just, yeah, watch the film, watch the musical, read up about it. But it's very emotional, and I nearly cried about 10 times during even this recording. But yeah, that's it really.
Thank you so much for sharing your story and just being so brave. If
Thank you.
people want to get in touch with you or check out your page, where can they find you?
It's Aiesha Naomi, AIESHANAOMI. That's on Instagram and Twitter. I do have an email, but if you go through Instagram, then I can give you the email and chat away.
That's so great. Do you have any last words of advice you want to leave our listeners and viewers?
No, just to stay in there and hold on tight, because it does get better, and it gets worse before it gets better, like everything. So you just have to keep fighting it. Have it
Yeah,
really.
and look where you are now. So that's so great.
Yeah, I'm living proof. I think we all are.
All right.
Our strong little army.
Yeah, definitely. And here is your song that I'm going to play for people to listen to. All right.
I don't need you to love me. I don't need you to love. I got my sister. I can feel her now. She may not be here, but she's still mine. I know she still loves me. I got my children. I can't hold them now. They may not be here, but they still mine. I know. They know I still love them. I got my house. It still keeps the cold out. Got my chair where my body can't hold out. Got my hands doing good like they supposed to. Showing my heart to the folks that I'm close to. Got my eyes, though they don't see as far now. They see more about how things really are now. I'm gonna take a deep breath. I'm gonna hold my head up. I'm gonna pull my shoulders back and look you straight in the eye. I'm gonna flirt with somebody when they walk by. I'm gonna sing out, sing out. I believe I have inside of me everything that I need to live a bountiful life. With all the love alive in me, I will stand as tall as the tallest tree. And I'm thankful for every day that I'm given, both the easy and hard ones I'm living. But most of all, I'm thankful for loving who I really am. I'm beautiful. Yes, I'm beautiful. And I'm here.
Thanks for listening to the Eczema Podcast. And stay tuned for our next episode. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass it along to your friends. Visit eczemaconquerors.com for more articles and tips. Thanks for listening.